Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be installing this Gobi ladder on my Toyota 4Runner. Now I did splurge a little bit and got myself a Gobi ladder. It took about 4 months to arrive. I ordered this back in January of 2023 and now it's May and it's finally here. Now the only reason why I purchased a Gobi ladder is because I got tired of hauling around extra equipment to get into my tent. That's one of the downsides of having this clamshell rooftop tent. There's no easy way to store that telescopic ladder and it ends up taking too much space in the vehicle. Let's go ahead and look at everything you're going to need to install this ladder. This is everything that came in the box and it was very well packaged from Gobi. As you can see here, it comes with the ladder itself, comes with the top plate that mounts onto the hatch. Also comes with the bottom plate as well as this little sticky pad to protect the paint, and also the hardware kind of set nut style here that attaches to the bottom of the hatch. Here you'll see it comes with a hardware bag, and in here it comes with a couple tools that you're going to need and perhaps a spacer and the hardware for the top bracket. Also take note that some of the hardware is on the bottom of the ladder here, so make sure you don't lose that. Alright, these are the tools that I'm going to be using for this job. I have a 1/2-inch deep socket here. You could probably use an open end wrench as well. This is for the nuts on the top of the bracket. We're going to be using this 7/16" open end wrench as well to tighten the bottom set nut. Gobi also included this warning here to make sure that you actually use anti-seize on your bolts so that way the bolts don't break. It also came with some instructions that I'll probably reference during the video. A tape measure is handy to measure the bottom of the hatch so you can get it perfectly aligned. Some marking tape is helpful. This can be used to basically mark where the ladder is going to stop, so that way you don't have to constantly use the tape measure. You'll want to get some rubbing alcohol or some kind of cleaner so you can clean your paint, so that way the 3M tape on the ladder will stick a little bit better. It's also useful to have a level, so that way when you position your ladder on the hatch, you can make sure that it's nice and level. Let's go ahead and get started with the job. Alright guys, first thing we're going to do is clean the paint using this rubbing alcohol and this rag. Now, depending on which ladder you got, you're going to want to either clean the driver's side or the passenger side. Now, I went with a driver's side ladder, so I'm going to be prepping this area and this area up here. All right, next step we're going to do is we're going to grab this plate here. It's the one with the studs sticking up, not to be confused with this one here, which has this extra plate on the back, or this extra strip. All right, guys, we are up here on the top of the hatch here, and since I have a rear spoiler, I have a good reference point here on the existing bracket, and we're going to slip this right here, right next to that bracket, and we're going to want a 1/4 inch on both sides here. Now, if you don't have a rear spoiler, then what you can do is on the edge of this third brake light right here, you can measure the distance from here over to here, 10 3/4 inches, and then you can put your blue piece of tape there, and then you can use that for your reference point. All right, one thing I forgot to mention is if you do use the measurement technique and you don't have a rear spoiler, you want to make sure that the bracket under here doesn't make contact with this bracket here. So one thing you'll probably want to do is just tape it in place and then just do a quick check right here. And you can kind of see there, mine clears just fine because I'm using my rear spoiler as the reference point. So now that everything is pretty much situated here, I'm going to go ahead and take off the sticky tape and we're going to affix it permanently to here. Alright, so just hold it down for about 30 seconds or so and that should hold it tight. All right, here's what that plate looks like installed. And now what we're going to want to do is get these two spacers here and put them over the two studs. And that'll prep it for the ladder. All right, next step is to take off the hardware on the bottom of the ladder here. Just going to take these off and prep this guy to be installed over that bracket. All right, now that the hardware is off, we're going to put this over the spacers up there just to get a feel for how everything looks. All right, everything looks pretty good. Now next step is to level the ladder here, and you could just put a level next to it, or you can just eyeball it if you want to. And mine's a little off right now. It needs to go this way, it looks like. All right, somewhere right about here is where we're gonna want it. And what we're gonna do next is put a piece of tape down here so we know where it's supposed to be. All right, I wanted to show you guys a little bit closer down here what I'm talking about. So you can see here I got my tape, and that's where I determined it was gonna be level. All right, now that we have the tape here, what we're gonna do is open the tailgate and we're gonna install the bottom clamp, or at least get it somewhat installed to help us pull this guy down as well. So you'll notice the tape went all the way to the other side here, and that'll help us figure out how to put this aluminum piece on. So this aluminum piece came with the bottom bracket here. It was taped in here. You're gonna wanna put that right here under the tailgate. All right, there it is. I just put it up against here flush. That way it's nice and flat. There's a little curve in here, so you want to stay near the edge as much as possible. All right, now that we got this back plate on, we're gonna put the ladder on now. And like I said, you're gonna wanna have to pull down, make it flush with the bottom here, and line it up with this tape line so that way it's level. So I'm gonna try to do that by myself here, but normally you would have a friend try to help you as they pull down and line everything up, and then they can push the adhesive on here. Well guys, that was pretty hard and it didn't work out. As you can see, I still have a little lip. My hope is that once I put the bolts in and tighten it, it will kind of push it down. Hopefully it'll be okay with the adhesive. We'll find out. All right guys, next step is to put the bottom plate on. There are 2 bolts or 2 studs back here, and you can just sandwich it against here, and then on the bottom we're going to put the original hardware that was here through this hole to capture that one. All right guys, I noticed the bracket was a little hard to get on here, so what I'm going to do is tighten this up. That'll draw the ladder down a little bit. And I know earlier I told you guys I didn't line it up flush, but I think it's probably going to be fine. Once I draw this back together, it's going to pull this ladder down towards the bracket, and it's already making contact with the bottom here, so it should be just fine. So I'm going to do a little bit on each side at a time. That'll also hold the bracket here, so that way I can tighten the bottom here. Did draw it down pretty decently here. I mean, it's good enough. It's not going to be perfect. There's even a curve in the bracket here, so I'm pretty sure it's not going any further than that. All right, now that everything is tightened up on over here, we can tighten the bottom now and lock this in. All right, now that the set studs are tightened up in here, we're gonna go ahead and tighten up the nut now. Doesn't have to be that tight. All right, that should be it. Go ahead and take off the tape. All right guys, everything is tightened up here now. We're gonna go ahead and give it a close and make sure everything closes okay. All right, that's good. All right, we're up here. We're at the final step of locking down the top. Don't forget your anti-seize. And you should have did that on the bottom as well. Gonna go ahead and slip the big washer on, the lock washer, and then the nut. All right, we're just gonna tighten this down, and you don't want to over tighten this. All right, that should be tight enough, and that should complete the install. Well guys, that about sums up the installation. As you can see, it was very simple and the ladder is very well made. I don't have very many complaints about the installation other than lining it up with the bottom hatch here. That was a little difficult, but ended up not being necessary. Now, one other thing you might have to consider with this ladder is now your hatch has to work a little bit harder to lift this ladder as well. So you may end up having to get new hatch struts. Another downside to this ladder is it does get in the way of the rear window here. So if you have it down and you're constantly going in there and getting stuff, the ladder might get in the way a little bit. So just keep that in mind. Well guys, hopefully you guys liked the video. I'm gonna leave links to everything I use down in the video description below, so that way you guys can find it easier. If you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. If you guys like content like this, make sure you guys check out my channel for other videos. And if you don't wanna miss new videos, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. As always guys, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.